Ivan Hernandez, Jonathan Geeson, Alina Grachner, and Rani Saad will be sharing their experiences as expatriates entrepreneurs. Lynn Seegers will be moderating this panel. Welcome.
So yes, welcome. This is going to be a session about expat entrepreneurs, so entrepreneurs who became expats. Before jumping into the different exciting profiles that we have on stage here, I just wanted to quickly introduce myself. So I'm Leen, I'm CEO with Tech.eu. Tech.eu is a publication focused on European technology. I'm not going to go into much detail, but just check our blog and subscribe to the newsletter. So here on stage we have 4 entrepreneurs who fit the profile of an expat entrepreneur very well and also several times. So I would suggest to just introduce yourself, explain where you were based previously, the reasons for relocation, and then also where you now. Go ahead.
All right. Hi, everybody. My name is Ivan Hernandez. I am originally from Mexico City. But for the past 15 years, I have been based in Poland. The reason why I moved there is because of a beautiful Polish lady. And prior to that, I worked in about 10 different countries. So I've been all over the place, but now I'm based in Poland.
Okay. Rani?
My name is Rani Saad, originally from Lebanon. I spent quite a bit of time in the US, as well as most recently in London, where I moved from the US to start up a social network site for the design world. And I guess we'll go into the details later of the reasons for the move.
Exactly.
Hi, my name is Jonathan Geeson. I'm originally from Dallas, Texas, USA, and we basically came to Lebanon as refugees from Cairo. We have a digital news marketplace where we're working with independent freelance journalists, and our focus in the beginning was to build that network right here in the Middle East. So we thought it's important to be next to our user base, understand how these people interact with the technology and build the technology so that we can better service those professional freelancers. Originally, we were a New York-based company. We built a prototype here in Lebanon, actually with Lebanese developers, probably about 2010. We were having a really difficult time finding investment in the United States. It was post-recession. Media market was collapsing. We were focused on the Middle East, and it was a really difficult sell in New York City. So we were fortunate enough to find our first investment here in Lebanon. And from Cairo, we made the move a few days after the revolution, or a few weeks after the revolution, where we'd actually launched our prototype and made that move to Lebanon. And here we are 3 years later.
Thank you. Alina?
Hello, my name is Alina. I'm originally from Germany, and for the last 9 years I moved to several countries actually. I've worked in the US, Middle East, Africa, all across Asia. And at the moment, we are setting up new operations in South Korea, so I'm based in Seoul. I work with Apora Ventures, and we launch cloud-based applications, and we also build SaaS platforms.
Okay, thank you. So just to give a small recap, we have Ivan next to me, who comes from Mexico and moved to Poland. Then we have Rani, who moved from the States to London. Then we have John from the States, who moved to Beirut. And then we have Alina from Germany, who is now setting up a business in South Korea. So can we start again, for example, Alina, to explain much more in detail why South Korea was for you the best market to launch your business or to move into at this point?
So at the moment, we are present in Netherlands, Germany, Portugal, US. We focus now in South Korea because of the technology market in South Korea. If you look at statistics, it's highest smartphone penetration in the world, fastest internet in the world, impressive integration with third-party providers. So they're far ahead of other countries if you look at mobile technology and how customers use mobile technology. They use NFC for payment. Everything is very integrated. You pretty much, you swipe your phone to pay your coffee at Starbucks. And there's tremendous opportunity tapping into this market.
Rani?
Sure. So the reason why I moved to London from the US was primarily to go after the design activity that was going on in Europe, just be based inside the continent. The idea that we had was very design focused, so being in Europe allowed me to actually be very close to that activity. There were challenges because we actually moved away from my network. So we had issues also setting up in a new country, in a new city. The investment was not contingent that we had on any specific location. It was more about really going after the market activity that we were trying to target.
Clearly, the product market fit was the better.
It was better from us. Yes, it was better from a density and diversity. The challenges compared to the U.S., for example, is similar to what Jonathan said. It's about talent. There is a talent shortage for design and software developers in Europe and in London. So that's something that we continue to deal with. Yeah, U.S. probably has more supply of that. Yeah.
Jonathan, you already tipped on it a little bit, but can you explain also more in detail why you actually then went from Cairo to Beirut?
Well, I mean, I think there was this big thing called the Arab Spring in Cairo. We actually, as I said earlier, we built our initial prototype with a Lebanese development team. And we were in Cairo building the kind of the nascent network of journalists. At that time, it was kind of citizen journalists, activists, social media, and building the marketplace for these guys in Cairo. But we launched literally our prototype 3 days before the beginning of the Egyptian Revolution, which was an amazing opportunity for us. And it was amazing proof of concept, if you will, that the marketplace was flooded with content. But what obviously happened is the environment for journalism in Egypt just really became untenable. I mean, at this point, it's almost virtually impossible to even pull out your camera. And as the revolution continued, it became more and more difficult to build that network. It was incredibly aggressive politically. We were foreigners. I mean, it was just a really bad mix for us. So, I mean, effectively, we became refugees coming from Egypt to Lebanon. But because we had the initial investment support here in Lebanon, which was extraordinary, they understood the concept, they helped build it, we were really able to attract a really good, strong talent base here in Lebanon. I mean, most of our development, we've had to rebuild the website subsequently. We've had to outsource that just because we haven't had Ruby programmers here in Lebanon. But from a standpoint of actually building the internal network that drives the whole marketplace, we were able to find that talent. We needed, obviously, Arabic language skills. We needed professional journalists. We needed a test bed that in-house. And as opposed to going to Dubai, where cost structure is probably 3 times more expensive than it is in Lebanon, we were able to really attract a really good talent base at a relatively low labor cost, which, of course, from a burn rate standpoint as an entrepreneur that's what you got to be really looking for. So it became, for us, a really exciting hub. And I think we've also been here for 3 years, and we've seen kind of the growth of the ecosystem. And we've been a part of building this new, flourishing, hopefully expanding and growing tech ecosystem. And we're one of the first companies here, and we're growing and thriving. So despite everything,
Certainly a very important use case, coming back to Lebanon and funding and the awareness. For you, Ivan, you mentioned that one of the reasons why you moved to Poland was certainly personal, but also the socio-economical factors were important for you. Can you explain?
Yeah, I mean, the situation that I had is a little bit different because when I moved to Poland, I didn't know nothing about Poland. Like, when I get there, I was like, okay, what do I know about Poland? The Pope is Polish, well, it was then. Lech Wałęsa, the Nobel Peace Prize. I like football, so Grzegorz Lato, Boniek, and that's it. I didn't know anything about it. But, you know, I ended up over there, and what I realized, I landed there in 1999, and what happened is that the communist collapsed in 1989. So technically, it was a brand new country. It had 10 years old. So everybody had a fresh start. And I found myself in a very interesting situation that if you were ready to work hard, if you had good ideas, everybody had the opportunity to build something and create something new. So it was a very exciting from that point of view that I ended up finding myself in a very exciting place, which, you know, 15 years later, I had the opportunity to move somewhere else, and I decided to stay because I'm having a great time over there. There is a lot of potential. There are a lot of great companies, a lot of very exciting startups happening. And I think that this is an incredible market, and I'm very happy to be there.
So in retrospect, this was a very good decision.
It was a fantastic decision that, you know, it was made without me. You know, I just arrive, get there, and I think that this is an important insight that, you know, very often when we are making the decision about where to establish our business or where do we want to go, we try to take into consideration the different economic factors and social factors. But very often it's just about, you know, taking the opportunity that you have, wherever it is that you are, and build something there. Because if you are waiting to find the right place with the right incentives and the right structure, you might not find that place. Or if you find it, you know, it might be very difficult because there is a lot of competition because everybody wants to go there. So I think the approach is being open, and once you find a place, try to identify what are the right things, the good things, what is the network, the ecosystem, start building relationships, and little by little start building your position in that market. And that market might end up being a great opportunity in the long term.
Interesting. We've been discussing about moving for professional reasons, but then in a way you leave someone or your family or friends behind. You want to give some more information on how that impacted your personal life and maybe also your business?
My mom misses me very dearly. Yeah, I mean, of course, there is always the personal element, but at the end of the day, you know, you need to build your career, and wherever you go, if you establish and you settle yourself, this is a place that you are going to call home. And in the age that we are living today, that we can be connected, you know, and we can stay in touch, it's not as bad as, I don't know, 20, 30 years ago when, you know, moving just, you know, to the country next to you, it means, you know, you're completely incommunicated, no?
Mm-hmm. Jonathan, do you travel back to the States a lot?
You know, I have not been back to the United States for about a year. I'm very fortunate in the sense that I moved my company to Lebanon, got my first investment, and then 7 months later I was married to a lovely Lebanese woman. So now I have a little half Lebanese Texan boy, and we're all family here. My mom comes. She visits. She's had 5 car bombs. She's very excited about that. She thinks it's a little bit strange, but she's also been following my career for the past 20 years, which has been an intrepid kind of global traveler, following the news, making stories. So from a family standpoint, my family is right here in Lebanon at this point.
Okay, so you all moved. You're all happy professionally and personally. So what happened when you were actually then setting up a business in this new location? What were the most important hurdles that you can share with the audience? Although they're very related, of course, to the specific regions. Who wants to give it a start? Rani?
Yeah, I think, I mean, when you start up something, that, to me, the 2 biggest challenges are money and people. And I think that's really the biggest disadvantage of being an expat. If you don't have the networks to actually get money and find talent. You know, some places are better than others to break into, but that is, you know, the biggest challenge I had in London. Luckily, which was the talent challenge. Luckily, the money was already set up. But actually, on Jonathan's point, I just want to, I mean, my observation is that, you know, if can find money in a place that is having a lot of brain drain, you can actually build a very successful business despite the macro trend. So for example, in Lebanon, Jonathan came in, set up something really exciting and thriving, although the country has been suffering of some brain drain. So actually it's a great example of being able to go after an idea and making it happen, even if the place isn't sort of a gold rush place. And I think that's the same thing with you, Evan, right?
Yeah, I mean, the fact that there is a brain drain, I mean, this is a reality of the world today everywhere. So we cannot use this as an excuse. The fact that people are leaving, it means that, it's creating also opportunities within. And for us as foreigners coming here, this opens some opportunities as well. I mean, I had the opportunity to build my position in the market in Poland based in the fact that, there are not many Mexicans walking around that speaks Polish, actually. So these open opportunities and bringing this knowledge and this global perspective is something that has also played a role in my career in Poland as well. From a cultural point of view, when I get there, there was a lot of it's hard to generalize, but there's a tendency to wait for something to happen, and if you do not have that mindset, and you arrive to the place and you just start doing stuff, all of a sudden that puts you ahead of the competition, and it puts you in a better position. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, the reality of the market, you just need to deal with it.
Absolutely. I mean, for us, I think we're probably one of the first kind of startups here in Lebanon, and we've been here in the scene for, 3 years. It would be completely anathema to think that somebody from the United States would come to Lebanon, whereas usually it's the absolute inverse. Everybody from Lebanon is going to Dubai, they're going to Paris, they're going to London, they're going to the States. That's where the opportunity is. But, where there's, shall we say, risk or a strong sense of risk, if you're the only one in the market, you can get in there very quickly. And we were the only people in the Middle East doing anything remotely like this, especially at the technology level that we're working at. And in fact, when we look at it competitively, and in fact, we were just in the Dublin Web Summit a couple weeks ago, and we met a couple of our competitors from the States, and they have not been able to build the technology that we have. They don't understand the market problems that our users are facing. We're building technology for guys in Iraq, for Syria, Libya. Nobody in Silicon Valley even thinks about optimizing at that level for those types of markets. And we have no real competition in the market. But we're also able to, the beauty of Lebanon is that you have an extraordinarily talented educational base. A lot of those guys leave to go seek opportunity elsewhere. But there are people here, and what we're also doing now is hiring and bringing people back to Lebanon. We're bringing in an incredible photo editor from Paris. Our director of production actually is an American former ABC guy. He's 40 years in the business. He was here in the Civil War in 1982. He's like, you know what? This is crazy, but let's do it, And we understand, we're in the news business, so this is kind of part and parcel of the whole, but we've been able to really attract some really interesting talent, and we'll be doing so over the next few months. And, to kind of go back to the beginning of your question, you obviously, when you go to another country, you've got a lot of different problems. Obviously, here in Lebanon, there's the bureaucracy, the legal factors. I was listening to a panelist yesterday. She was in Indonesia, and she had to sign documents, but she had to take a selfie of herself before she could sign the documents in front of the Minister of Labor. Which of course is completely beyond the pale of anything that we've ever had to face in Lebanon. But, for us, the classic kind of legal hurdles, totally surmountable. Actually, our lawyers here in the audience, Najim, helped us out there, big front. Obviously, our investors helped us extraordinary amount as well. But, our biggest problem, and I know that everybody echoes this in this room, is the infrastructure. And here we are talking about big tech and about extraordinary opportunity in Lebanon, but here in Lebanon, we've got to really work on our infrastructure. And internet is a huge detriment. And if you're talking tech, you've got to have internet. And we, certainly as a extraordinary consumer of internet, we basically process HD video. We are one of the biggest users probably in Lebanon, but it's not cost effective. The infrastructure has to increase. you've got to build the base for that ecosystem to flourish. You know, a lot of bright ideas, a lot of talent, but they need to have at least the basics in place. You can bring in the developers, you can start to educate, but if you're going to thrive, you need to have that baseline. And it's a big hurdle that has to be overcome here in Lebanon in order for all of what we're talking about to really, really manifest itself. So,
Alina, do you want to share some insights about launching in South Korea?
So from a perspective in Korea, I would say biggest challenge is localization, because you're dealing with a market that has tremendous infrastructure and integration in terms of technology. So let's say you want to bring your startup from Europe into Korea because it's a very attractive market. It's a massive buying power, so there's lots of potential for revenue in Korea. But you have to understand that in Korea, let's say your UI UX design, for example, that might be appropriate for European or US standards, doesn't meet the standards in Korea because their requirements are much higher. They are more developed, things are move much faster and smoother in Korea. So you will, on one side, you have to meet the technology requirements. You have to add more advanced layers on your existing technology that you already have. On the other side, you have to understand the cultural perspective. You can have, for example, the most amazing chat technology app with file sharing on the market, but if you don't adapt small cultural things into the app, like stickers, for example, and chats are a really big thing in Asia. If you miss those little details, you're not going to make it in the market. So on one side, you have the technology you will have to upgrade. On the other side, you have to also consider the culture.
Okay, very, very, very interesting. So we already briefly touched it with Ivan about being an immigrant actually adds value to your company in the respective region, that it's actually a competitive advantage. Can you, for example, Rani, go into that? How your different background added value to your competitive advantage?
Yeah, definitely. I think generally speaking, even when building teams, having multiple nationalities and multiple backgrounds, gives a very strong competitive advantage. But I think, spending time in different places allows you to sort of, through osmosis, take some of the strengths of those places. So maybe the risk-taking of Silicon Valley, the propensity to fail in order to succeed. Maybe in Europe, there's a very strong significance associated with aesthetic and creativity as well. So, and frankly, the hunger that you see in Asia and the Middle East from talent and from entrepreneurs also affects you. And I think that's one of the things that South Korea has to offer also, and other places in Asia, this kind of very fast-paced and hungry kind of cadence. So I think, yeah, definitely taking these from different places would give you a competitive advantage. I just want to say one more thing, Lena, on the previous thing.
Go for it.
I think if you want to be successful as an entrepreneur, I think to me it's about going after the market opportunity no matter what, because the hurdles are all surmountable if the market opportunity clicks and there's enough funding to actually go out after it. And from what I've seen here, for example, the good thing is that there's a lot of money going into the market now, which actually is looking better than many other markets that I see in other parts of the world. So, I know the topic is about expats as entrepreneurs, but I just want to point out that it's not necessarily always the formula for success to go expat, to find the opportunity. Sometimes just going into the market that you're in with fresh eyes and renewed confidence would do it if there are the right ingredients of talent and money.
Actually, I wanted to add to the point that you mentioned, both of you mentioned it a little bit earlier, the fact that I don't know if it's because being an expat you have a different perspective, but very often you have the situation that you notice things that very often the people within the country or within the culture, they don't take it into consideration. Very often, I mean, this is something I'm an advisor to different companies in Poland, and I see very often a lot of potential to do interesting things at a regional level, globally, why not? But very often, you know, there is these entrepreneurs and these startups that they're like thinking too small, right? And sometimes it's a matter of just thinking big, and they have a lot of potential, but they don't see it, they don't feel it. So, as you mentioned, you know, having a different perspective allows you to see the strengths of many different entrepreneurs and cultures. And if you manage to be a catalyzer and a support for these people, these could, you know, be ended up being beneficial for everybody. So this is something that I guess we need to also develop, the fact that if we move to a country, if we move to somewhere else, how can you add value in a way that you actually are going to, you know, energize the ecosystem and energize the people there? Because that's the other way that, you know, there's going to be not just the transfer of knowledge from coming from a different country, but also, you know, the energizing of the people to build something new.
Okay, so that is actually a good shift to the other subject of ecosystems. So we've talked about yesterday and today ecosystems in Europe, ecosystem Asia, US ecosystems. So when you moved, did you tap into an existing ecosystem, or there was no available and you had to set up yourself?
Yeah, I mean, the thing about ecosystems, and actually it's a good point. Yesterday, when we were at the line waiting for lunch, there were two gentlemen standing behind me, and they were talking about like, oh, so one of the speakers mentioned that it's all about the ecosystem. Here in Lebanon, we don't have an ecosystem. And I found that very interesting, because very often it's not about waiting for somebody to build something, but the way you're going to build an ecosystem is just by doing it. So, and it doesn't have to be something structured, it doesn't have to be something official. It's a matter of you know, slowly, you know, some people get together, go for drinks, start sharing experiences, start exchanging knowledge, start helping each other. And little by little, this is what starts to generate more and more and more and more. And who knows, maybe a year from now, maybe in 2 years, you have an ecosystem. But the really important thing, and again, this is my first time in Lebanon, so I'm not very familiar with your situation. I think that if you want to have an ecosystem, you need to build it. And to build it, you need to start taking action, getting together, helping each other, because that's the best way to actually, you know, grow everybody together. And little by little, this is what is going to happen. And this is what's happening in Poland. In Poland, there is a very strong ecosystem of startups that started pretty much, you know, with some geeks and some startups just having drinks or meeting every Thursday and exchanging ideas. And today we have a very solid ecosystem. So that's the way to do it.
It's a very good advice. We have come to the end of the session, so if someone wants to have an end note, then the floor is yours. Tips to the immigrants?
Well, I'll continue with what Ivan just said. I mean,
Okay.
here, obviously, in Lebanon, we're very early stage. I mean, obviously, the Bank of Lebanon's putting cash into society. There are venture capital funds. There's next stage growth funds that are coming into the market. They didn't exist a year ago. I mean, this is all absolutely just begun. And the reality is, I mean, I basically probably know everybody in this room who's part of this nascent ecosystem, but it's the attitude that needs to be here is just like, let's just do it. I mean, beyond all odds. I mean, it's you know, you take the political situation in Lebanon right now. I mean, there's a low-grade war an hour up the road. The Bekaa Valley is full of ISIS and Jabal al-Nusra, and I mean, it's a testament to Lebanon that we're actually even having a conversation on stage with 1,000 people somewhere around here talking about tech, when most countries would never even imagine the resilience to go, you know what? Half of our country is in flames to a certain extent, and here we are talking about bringing something incredibly new, incredibly opportunistic into a place that most people would pretty much write off. And that can-do attitude of the startup scene here, it's being built, it's growing, and you know, Lebanese by nature are entrepreneurial spirit. They just happen to have to go abroad to basically make their money. But now we can start to do that here in Lebanon. And I think it's an incredible opportunity here. And I mean, it's incredible for us to be a part of this scene. You know, we will probably, as we continue to grow the company, are going to have to really expand. And of course, if the infrastructure isn't really worked out, then it really starts to limit our growth opportunities. But if that can be worked out, why not? You know, it's happened in so many different places, and you got to start someplace.
Actually, I just wanted to add one more thing. That's so true. I mean, this is the moment. This could be the catalyzer. This event, I think the best thing that you can do is the fact that you use this event as the force that is going to generate the momentum. Because if we are talking about, you know, developing an ecosystem, if we're talking about developing all this potential that you have here, this is a very good starting point. You know, the fact that you have such an amazing event, that you have speakers from all over the world coming here and sharing ideas and concepts, you should take this into consideration to really build the momentum, because you guys are already moving forward. This is just a matter of getting the little extra push.
It is a positive and hopeful note. It's the end of the session. Thank you for sharing your stories.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.